Hi, I'm Rebecca and welcome to Solve Your Own Problems. In this video, we're going to do a little bit of diagnosis education so that you can better understand the difference between the diagnoses that fall on the schizophrenia spectrum disorder. So, a lot of the times when we think about psychosis or hallucinations, delusions, we just think schizophrenia. But the reality is there are varying degrees of psychotic disorders, and not all of them meet the criteria for schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is a very serious diagnosis and requires some really intense medication and therapy. And so we want to really make sure that it truly is schizophrenia before making that diagnosis. So I'm going to walk you guys through just the different diagnoses that fall under that spectrum and what differentiates between them. So really the first one that we have is brief psychotic disorder. And for all of the diagnoses in the schizophrenia spectrum disorder realm, there are very specific criteria, and all of these diagnoses need to meet this criteria, but the time frame and what else is going on while that criteria is happening plays a factor in what the final diagnosis will be. And those symptoms that need to be present are delusions, hallucinations, and disorganized speech. Those are kind of the top three. You got to have at least one of those for it to be even considered in that schizophrenia spectrum disorder realm. And then the last two are disorganized or catatonic behavior, and then negative symptoms. So basically taking away things that should be there, like a diminished emotional expression. So with brief psychotic disorder, we're meeting the criteria for this, but the difference is the time frame. So these symptoms need to be present for at least one day, but no more than or less than 1 month. So once you hit the 1 month mark of symptoms being present, it's no longer brief psychotic disorder. But this gives us a way to diagnose psychosis without jumping straight into schizophrenia and that being a diagnosis that someone is misdiagnosed with and then mistreated with. So brief psychotic disorder means we're seeing some psychosis, delusions, hallucinations, or disorganized speech, but we don't have enough history yet. We don't have enough data of the symptoms being present to know if it's schizophrenia or not. So in that initial under 1 month, it'll be brief psychotic disorder. At the month mark, it becomes a schizophreniform disorder. So if those symptoms, delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, disorganized or catatonic behavior, or the negative symptoms are present for more than 1 month, but less than 6 months, then it is schizophreniform disorder. So this just means we don't think it's a brief psychotic episode anymore. So we've left that diagnosis behind. We've ruled that out, and we've moved into kind of a more intermediate diagnosis with schizophreniform. And then that is when we get to a schizophrenia diagnosis. If these symptoms are persisting, and it doesn't mean it's happening 24/7, but the majority of the time, more often than not, they are experiencing these symptoms for 6 months or more, then that's when we would make a schizophrenia diagnosis. There is also another diagnosis under this category that oftentimes gets missed or misdiagnosed, unfortunately. And so this is one I really like educating on. It's schizoaffective disorder. And so basically what schizoaffective disorder is, this person is meeting all of the criteria for schizophrenia, but they are also experiencing mood episodes. So that's either a manic episode, a depressive episode, or both. And with schizoaffective disorder, if someone is experiencing both manic and depressive or just manic episodes, then we would say that's schizoaffective disorder bipolar type. If they're only experiencing depressive episodes, then that would be schizoaffective depressive type. Now, what makes this different from bipolar disorder with psychosis or major depressive disorder with psychosis is that with schizoaffective disorder, the hallucinations, delusions, disorganized speech, all of those symptoms of schizophrenia are still occurring for at least 2 weeks in the lifetime of this illness, or the lifetime of the onset of symptoms. At least 2 weeks, they have experienced these schizophrenia symptoms outside of a mood episode. So the hallucinations or delusions are not just happening while they're depressed or in a manic state, but they're also happening outside of those. Because otherwise, if they're only happening during a manic episode or during a depressive episode, that would be more a diagnosis of bipolar disorder with psychosis or major depressive disorder with psychotic features, things like that. But oftentimes I see people diagnose schizophrenia and major depressive disorder, or schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And really, if those things are happening, and the schizophrenia symptoms are outside of mood episodes, that really should be schizoaffective disorder. So that is the difference between all of the different diagnoses that fall under, well, the major ones at least, under the schizophrenia spectrum disorder category in the DSM. And I hope this was beneficial to you. If you have a diagnosis that you would like to learn more about, or certain diagnoses that you don't understand the difference between, please write me a comment and let me know. I would love to make more of these diagnosis education videos, and I'd love to know specifically what you're wanting to learn. Please subscribe to my channel if you want to get updated when I have new videos, and thanks for watching. Bye.